Hi guys, we're going to begin to read. I haven't done any reading in a while, and I'm not actually hungry, so I don't know if I'm going to have another salad or not. But let's read a little bit about what's happening with Moses in the Bible. Even though it's an old book, and it's a time right now where people are preparing for their season of Easter and all of that. Let's just glean some things to see what can we understand about what it means and what happened in the past as it relates to now and the future in the New Testament time that we are supposed to be in here now. I don't know a lot about the Last Supper and the things that happened there, but we're going to get up into that. So we're just, what day is this? Tuesday, I believe is April 5th. And I believe the last time we were reading this, let's see where I stopped off at, was talking about the heart of Moses and how he was able to help the Hebrew people come out of Egypt, living up under like bondage, you know. So the people, they did not know they were living that way until Moses could tell that they were being harmed and and then they became tired of how they were living. They became tired of it because they realized to themselves, that they could live like anybody else. So, and a lot of people wonder, about the world and the way that we live. Why is it that this may not have nothing to do with Moses exiting the people from Egypt, from under the heart of Pharaoh? His heart was hardened against those people. But when you look at in the world how you're surviving, you oftentimes want to survive to the best or the highest standards that you can. But anyway, let's just read what we have here in Exodus. We're on 13. I think I said, so we read 13 about how what happened was God had taken the firstborn child. He was killing every firstborn child because he got Pharaoh's firstborn son. And this was the last plague, was a plague of death. He got Pharaoh's son. Pharaoh's son died. And so that's how they freed all the people from Egypt. He was so distraught. His heart was so broken because something so close to him was touched by the plague. So God said that he wanted to restore the firstborn. This was in the book 13 of Exodus. It says dedication. I want to rededicate the firstborn. So the Lord said to Moses that to dedicate to me every firstborn among the Israelites, the first offspring to be born of both human and animal belong to me. So Moses said to the people, this is the day to remember forever. The firstborn is blessed. Believe it or not, a high blessing on the firstborn. The firstborn, male, it can be female, male, but they are blessed. They are blessed. But this was here was talking about the firstborn. And it says, remember the day you left Egypt, the place of your slavery. Today the Lord has brought you out by the power of his mighty hand. Remember, eat no food containing yeast, meaning the bread. So we've been eating around here, when I do buy bread, I buy gluten-free bread because my son can only eat gluten-free food. And I'm only eating sugar-free, sugar, not a keto diet, but I do eat some keto things. But most of the things I eat have no yeast, no sugars. What happens is the sugars turns into yeast inside of you. So if you're automatically eating breads that contain yeast and all these things that contain yeast is replicating inside of you. So you have to be careful what you're eating. But they, you could eat yeast, of course, but during this particular time, the time of Abib, you're not to eat any type of things that contain yeast. Now, in this day and age, a lot of things contain yeast. A lot of things, not just bread. But see, people don't read their labels to see what they're eating. And so we're going to be doing weight loss. So I'm going to teach you guys, you need to know what the ingredients are on those labels. You need to read your labels. A lot of things contain sugars, yeast, a lot of ingredients that may even kill you, that may be killing you right now. But if you don't read those labels to see what you're eating, you could be eating anything. It's a little bit hard. You just have to know which type of brands offer the best. And even with the best type brands, like, let me show you some. This brand here is what I mostly buy. I know this has nothing to do with the Bible, but you see this Live Free right here? It's gluten-free bagels. I got the gluten-free with the blueberry, but I get this from Aldi's. Live Free, because it has no yeast. It's gluten-free. Gluten-free has no yeast, and it tastes a little bit bland, the bread, but you got the raisins in there. And then I get the whole grain. Let me show you. When I get the bread from my son, this is what he eats. He eat this right here. It's a whole grain bread, and he don't even look. When he used to eat the other bread, he would eat it. But now that he got this, and he really just tastes the bread, he barely even want to eat that. So it's kind of helping him to lose weight, and I'm not eating any breads right now. I wasn't supposed to eat the bagels I had this morning, but I just couldn't figure out what to eat. I should have had granola and milk. But anyway, I'm all off the topic. Let's get back to reading where we are here. So it says, today the Lord has brought you out by the power of his mighty hand. Remember to eat no food containing yeast on this day. In early spring, in the month of Abib, you have been set free. You must celebrate this event in this month each year after the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, Amorites, Hivitites, and the Jebusites. He swore to your ancestors that he would give you this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. For 7 days, the bread you eat must be made without yeast. And then on the 7th day, celebrate a feast to the Lord. Eat bread without yeast during those 7 days. In fact, there must be no yeast bread or any yeast all found within the borders of your land during this time, meaning within your home. Whatever you have in your refrigerator, in your home, in your cabinets, you got to clean all of that out for the first 1 and 2 weeks of April, Abib. So we're now just the first week here, but my whole lifestyle is going to be without yeast. It's just something that I need to do because it makes our skin itch. It makes him break out. He's got these skin patches. His doctor told him to stop eating a lot of rich foods, that he has gluten sensitivity. And what gluten sensitivity is when you eat a lot of rich foods, rich, heavy foods, creams and butters and sugars and things like that. So I can't make those type things for him anymore. He can't have those. So I just took a notion from him. My doctor told me to eat vegan. So I said vegan and gluten go together. So I just joined right in the club with him. And he joined in with me. We eat a healthy diet. But we do still eat some meats because my daughter is 100% vegan. She eats no meats, no dairy. All she eats is vegetables. But I feel like if you don't put something, I eat a little dairy and sometimes I eat a little meat because sometimes I just feel like I'm not strong enough to go all the way without it. But I'm going to break my way into being 100% vegan while I'm on this weight loss journey. I truly am. I'm going to start sampling other vegetables, eating more mushrooms and eating other types of vegetables other than just salad. I eat a lot of salad because that's what I like. I'm going to start eating more nuts. I do eat beans. I eat quite a bit of beans. But not to get off the subject, we'll talk about that when it's time. Let's discuss the 11th verse of Exodus 13. It says, "This is what you must do when the Lord fulfills the promise he swore to you and to your ancestors. When he give you the land where the Canaanites now live, you must present all firstborn sons and firstborn male animals to the Lord, for they belong to him. A firstborn donkey may be bought back from the Lord by presenting a lamb or a young goat in the place of it." So you can present something else in exchange. "But if you do not buy it back, you must break its neck." You have to buy it back. Isn't that something? This is what they did way back in the old times. And then it says, "However, you must buy it back, every firstborn son. And in the future, your children will ask you, 'What does all this mean?' Then you will tell them what the power of his mighty hand, the Lord brought us out of Egypt, the place of our slavery. Pharaoh stubbornly refused to let us go, so the Lord killed all the firstborn males throughout the land of Egypt, both people and animals. That is why I now sacrifice all the firstborn males to the Lord, except that the firstborn son are always bought back. This ceremony will be like a mark branded on your head, on your forehead. It is a reminder that the power of the Lord's mighty hand brought us out of Egypt." Now we're going to go into Israel wilderness detour. So the Lord is saying that he wants to take the firstborn, but you can buy him back. You need your firstborn in your home for the leadership and the support. You can buy the firstborn back. He said, "The firstborn is mine." Back then, they was not able to sacrifice or give money and different things. So when they had a cow or a calf or a donkey or something that had a firstborn male, bring me that animal. And that animal was the sacrifice. The firstborn male of a foal would come out of there. That was the sacrifice. Now, if you want the firstborn back, buy him back and he can be yours. Present me with the currency. You can get the firstborn back of that animal. Okay, now let's go here. It says, Israel's wilderness detour. When Pharaoh finally let the people go, God did not lead them along the main road. Okay, I think I did read this part. What's going to happen here is God is going to lead the people of Israel on a detour, because Pharaoh decided, "Oh my goodness, I let all my slaves go. Who's going to help me do the land and build and clean up and do things?" So he got all his army and his chariots together. They went to chase down the slaves. And so God made it so that they were still protected. They were getting afraid. "Oh my Lord, you got us out here. We can't survive like this." God opened up the Red Sea and let them pass through with the waters flowing up on the side. And Pharaoh was in hot pursuit to get his slaves back. It's not funny. "I'm going to get my slaves." I can't believe I did that. What was I thinking? So when he went out there to go across the Red Sea with all his chariots and all his army behind him, the sea closed in on them. And the horses and all the things they were riding, they just was flying up everywhere. And the people had all made it to the other side. They were sitting there looking at this, And so this is where we go to the song of deliverance. They began to celebrate because they knew that once he came after them and he was in pursuit and he couldn't find them, he couldn't get to them, they knew they had made it. So in chapter 15, they began to sing a song of deliverance, the slaves, the Hebrew slaves. Then Moses and the people of Israel sang this song to the Lord. "I will sing to the Lord, for he has trampled gloriously. He has triumphed gloriously. He has hurled both horses and rider into the sea." They sing a whole song about it. The Lord is my strength and my song. He has given me victory. And so it goes on and on. He destroyed them with his powerful hand. They were so grateful in their heart that after all of those years, they were able to come from up under that leader in the way that they were being mistreated. All of them, all 600,000 of slaves, all of them were led out by Moses and Aaron under the strength of God. All of them that wanted to go were led out. Now, I'm sure some of them were left behind because they thought, they could do better being in bondage. But the ones that knew they didn't want to be in there, they left. Okay, better water of Marah. Then Moses led the people of Israel away from the Red Sea, and they moved out into the desert of Shur. They traveled, my glass is too big. They traveled in this desert for 3 days without finding any water. Now, when they came to the oasis of Marah, the water was too bitter to drink. So they called the place of Marah, which means bitter. Marah, which means bitter. Then the people complained and turned against Moses. What are we going to drink? They demanded. So Moses cried out to the Lord for help, and the Lord showed him a piece of wood. Moses threw it into the water, and this made the water good to drink. It was there at Marah that the Lord set before them the following decree as a standard to test their faithfulness to him. He said, if you will listen carefully to the voice of the Lord your God and do what is right in the sight, obeying his commands and keeping all his decrees, then I will not make you suffer any of the diseases I sent on the Egyptians, for I am the Lord who heals you. After leaving Mar, the Israelites traveled on to the oasis of Elim, where they found 12 springs and 70 palm trees. They camped there beside the water. So the Lord really kept them and looked out for them. Now he had put a series of plagues on the land of Egypt. And he took them out of there before he began to spring all the plagues and all the different things. He had them already, well, they were not gone until the last plague came, which was the plague of death. When the plague of death came through the land, that's when they began to pack up and go and take things with them. But while all these plagues was going on in the land, they were still there. They was not affected. And he's telling them here, I will continue to protect you. I'm the Lord your God. I brought you out, And Moses went and talked to God. He said, the people are thirsty. We all need water. And God supplied their need. And not only did he supply their need, he took them where there were a whole lot of palm trees, a whole lot of springs, a whole lot of drinking water, enough for everybody. They didn't have to worry about it. They made a camp beside these springs. They started to camp in their homes and putting up tents, because this was fresh. This was water and food and everything. So that's where they were. And then Moses and quail from heaven. Manna. No, they received, this is manna and quail. It says, then the whole community of Israel set out for Elim and journeyed into the wilderness of Sin between Elim and Mount Sinai. So what happens is the Lord going to give them manna, which is food, and they're going to survive on that manna for years and years and years. Just out there in the wilderness, they're going to survive on it. And it says they arrived there on the 15th day of the second month, 1 month after leaving the land of Egypt. There, too, the whole community of Israel complained about Moses and Aaron. If only the Lord had killed us back in Egypt. They started complaining. They kept moaning to Moses. They kept moaning and groaning. If only he had killed us. There we sat around pots filled with meat and ate all the bread we wanted. But now you have brought us into the wilderness to starve us all to death. This is what they think. Then the Lord said to Moses, look, I'm going to rain down food from heaven for you. Each day, The people can go out and pick up as much food as they need for that day. I will test them in this to see whether or not they will follow my instructions. On the sixth day, they will gather food, and when they prepare it, there will be twice as much as usual. So Moses and Aaron said to all the people of Israel, by evening you will realize it was the Lord who brought you out of the land of Egypt. In the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your complaints, which are against him, not against us. What have we done that you should complain about us? Then Moses added, the Lord will give you meat to eat in the evening and bread to satisfy you in the morning, for he has heard all your complaints against him. What have we done? Yes, your complaints are against the Lord, not against us. So Moses and Aaron letting them know that you're complaining to us, but we're just human beings. We're we're just following the Lord's orders to help you all. You're complaining that, like it's our fault. That's what he's basically saying. Then Moses said to Aaron, announce this to the entire community of Israel. Present yourselves before the Lord, for he has heard your complaining. And as Aaron spoke to the whole community of Israel, they looked out toward the wilderness, and there they could see the awesome glory of the Lord in the cloud. Then the Lord said to Moses, I have heard the Israelites complain. Now tell them in the evening you will have meat to eat, and in the morning you will have all the bread you want. Then you will know that I am the Lord your God. That evening, vast numbers of quail flew in and covered the camp. And the next morning, the area around the camp was wet with dew. When the dew evaporated, a flaky substance, as fine as frost, blanketed the ground. The Israelites were puzzled when they saw it. What is it? They asked each other. They had no idea what it was. And Moses told them, it is the food the Lord has given you to eat. There are the Lord's instructions. Each household should gather as much as it needs. Pick up 2 quarts for each person in the tent. So the people of Israel did as they were told. Some gathered a lot, some only a little. But when they measured it out, everyone had just enough. Those who gathered a lot had nothing left over, and those who gathered only a little had enough. Each family had just what it needed. Then Moses told them, do not keep any of it until morning. But some of them didn't listen. They didn't listen. Some of it until the morning. Some kept it until the morning. But by then it was full of maggots and had a terrible smell. Moses was very angry with them. After this, the people gathered the food morning by morning, each family according to its needs. And as the sun became hot, the flakes they had not picked up melted and disappeared. On the 6th day, they gathered twice as much as usual, 4 quarts for each person instead of 2. Then all the leaders of the community came and asked Moses for an explanation. He told them, this is what the Lord commanded. Tomorrow will be a day of complete rest, a holy Sabbath day set apart for the Lord. So bake or boil as much as you want today and set aside what is left for tomorrow. So they put some aside until morning, just as Moses had commanded. And in the morning, the leftover food was wholesome and good, without maggots or odor. Moses said, eat this food today, for today is a Sabbath day dedicated to the Lord. There will be no food on the ground today. You may gather the food for 6 days, but the 7th day is the Sabbath. So when they get to the 7th day, they were going to eat what was left over from the 6th day. There will be no food on the ground that day. The Lord will not make food. He's not working on this. He don't work on Sunday. So the food, he told them, just save it to the morning, and you will eat it early in the morning. And after that, that's it. Some of the people went out anyway on the 7th day, but they found no food. There was no food there. The Lord asked Moses, how long will these people refuse to obey my command and instruction? They must realize that the Sabbath is the Lord's gift to you. It is a gift. It is a restful day. So he wanted them to rest, not to be out gathering and picking up things, gardening, the farm. You're supposed to rest. So do not go out and pick up food on the seventh day. So the people did not gather any food on the seventh day. The Israelites called the food manna. It was white like coriander seed, and it tasted like honey wafers. Then Moses said, "This is what the Lord has commanded. Fill a 2-quart container with manna to preserve it for your descendants. Then later generations will be able to see the food I gave you in the wilderness when I set you free from Egypt." Moses said to Aaron, "Get a jar and fill it with 2 quarts of manna. Then put it in a sacred place before the Lord to preserve it for all future generations." Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. He eventually placed it in the Ark of the Covenant in front of the stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant. So the people of Israel ate manna for 40 years until they arrived at the land where they were settled. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. So they were in the wilderness, and the Lord supplied 40 years. 40 years, that's a long time. And I'm going to tell you something. There's everything happening in a 40-year span in the Bible. You're going to see as we go through here and read from this Exodus, beginning the people exiting, then we're going to get into the Old Testament about Jesus Christ. Everything in these 40-year spans. So 40 years they were out there. And the Lord survived. The Lord provided. That he provided. And the time that they were out there eating the manna was a long time. But to them, it probably didn't seem that long. Let me tell you something. The years that they were under bondage and the years that they were mistreated, this was almost like a time of good treatment to them because they didn't have to work for nothing. All they were working for and slaving for was to eat a little piece of bread at night, or to take care of their family so the next generation have something. This was all provided. God just saying, I'm going to give it to you. You don't have to go out there and milk the cows and grow the vegetables and things. He put the palm trees, he put the water, he put it all out there. He said, just take it for 40 years because they were struggling. He said, but you must follow my command to get what you need. You cannot do it your way, your own way. You have to go under the leadership and follow my command. You're going to get what you need. And so this is what happened. This is the big part, the covenant of the ark inscribes the information about the children of Israel, the original Hebrew slaves who were under bondage. And they preserved some manna in some quarts and jars so that archaeologists and people down the way could see, this was the covenant of the ark. And inscribed there is what happened to them and what they ate during that 40 years. All inscribed. It's right here. It said, Moses said to Aaron, get a jar and fill it with 2 quarts of manna. That's like you put, how you put a message in a bottle and they send it off to sea so somebody can find it generations down. Oh, this is what happened to the older generation. This is what they were doing. But God wanted it in the covenant of the ark. He wanted the people to know that the Lord, made a covenant with the people. I made a covenant. Just like he said, I'm going to take these people into a land of milk and honey. Maybe they didn't get there, which you're going to find out. So guess what? Their children got to that land. Or their children, the next generation. Because some of them got old and died. But they had the experience of leaving the history behind and going through the journey and writing about it. You know what I'm saying? So let's read a little bit more about this. Let me tell you what happened. It's so very interesting. I enjoy it so much. Because down through the years, you've heard what happened. But did you actually read it for yourself? But I don't want to take up a lot of time. But let's go ahead. It says, Then put it in a sacred place. Put these jars. Moses said to Aaron, put these jars of manna in a sacred place to preserve it for future generation. Aaron did just as the Lord had commanded Moses. He eventually placed it in the Ark of the Covenant in front of the stone tablets inscribed with the terms of the covenant. So the people of Israel ate manna for 40 years until they arrived at the land where they were settled. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. The container used to measure the manna was an omer, which was 1/10 of an ephah. It held about 2 quarts. Okay, I'm on 30 minutes. My video has gone too long. But I know I'm not going to be able to upload it. But listen, we're going to read Water from the Rock, which is Exodus 17. That's going to be next time I come on here with you. I have really went over. But the extra conversation. So thank you so much for chiming in. We're going to be on Exodus 17 on our next Bible study. Have a good night.